Hi, this is Dan Lexi from Dan Schultz Outdoors, reminding you, keep the adventures alive. Hey y'all, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Colleen. And we're the Keel Quest. And we want you to keep the adventures alive. Cheers!
Hey, this is Darren from Ride Paddle Repeat, encouraging you to keep the adventures alive.
This is David from Beasley Ironworks saying keep the adventures alive.
Hey, Kevin with an A here. Keep the adventure alive.
Hi, I'm Dan Mayotte. Keep the adventures alive.
Hi, I'm Kevin Collin, the Happy Camper. Remember, keep the adventures alive. Awesome!
Woo, buddy! Shug here! Keep the adventures alive. I am.
Ethan here, the Avid Outdoorsy guy, reminding you to keep the adventures alive.
We're John and Aaron.
Keep the adventures alive.
Hey everyone, it's Kylan from Lure of the North, and I encourage you to keep the adventures alive.
This is Sky North telling you, keep the adventures alive. And now on with the show.
Hey, and happy Tuesday evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great week. Welcome to another episode of Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show, a show that will bring you a lot closer to the great outdoors. My name is Dennis, also known as Canoehound, and if you're the first time here watching this show tonight, thanks very much for tuning in. Next week, it'll be Eastern Standard Time. So, yes, you know what? We got a great show lined up for you tonight. I just want to give everybody a warning, including my guest tonight, that once again, the internet woes are sneaking up on Canoehound here, and hopefully it'll clear up like it usually does in a little bit. But if it happened to disappear, my guest has permission to be the official host of the show. So just let that be known there, Clint, that you may be the man tonight. Anyways, just want to get on with a few announcements here as we do every week while the chat over there populates. Just want to get a few things in here just to make sure everybody's on tune. We're all on the same page. First off, tonight's show is brought to you by a whole bunch of businesses that help support the show. One is Algonquin Outfitters, who are currently celebrating their 60th anniversary, and they have a fantastic contest going on right now where you have an opportunity to win some really cool prizes. But in order to do so, you have to go over to their website, not right now, after the show, go over to their website, check out the contest. The links are in the description below. And I just want to let you know that all contest entries need to be in by the end of November, December 1st, and I think that's when they're going to wrap it up, and that's when they're going to be doing all their drawing for their prizes. So make sure you get on over there, check out Algonquin Outfitters. As I said, link is in the description. Also, a special shout out to our good friends over at Kid Products, makers of the Kid Twig Stove and the Reflector Oven. Longtime supporter of the show, some personal friends now after our long relationship. And yeah, by all means, if you're ever in the market for anything like a twig stove or a reflector oven, by all means, do check them out at www.kihdproducts.com and check out what they have. All their stoves and their reflector ovens are made in Canada. And yeah, you know what? Support local, support Canada. It's always a good thing. Also, Hunter and Harris Paddles, makers of fine quality handcrafted paddles. If you're ever in the market for a handcrafted paddle or any paddle for that matter, by all means, check out what they have. They make some fantastic paddles, all hand hewn by Milan himself. So you can definitely check that out, and you're sure to get yourself a piece of art that you can actually use and you will cherish for many, many years to come. Let's see. If you missed last week's show, man, oh man, you missed one heck of a good episode. We had none other than Newfoundland's own Justin Barber. He was a guest on the show last week, and we talked a lot about his trip, his on-foot journey up in the Great Northern Peninsula over in Newfoundland. We talked about his Labrador trip, crossing Labrador and Quebec, and a whole bunch of other things. Justin really lit up the show. It was a good time. Justin, if you happen to be watching tonight or you're watching the replay, thanks again, man. It was truly an honor to have you on the show. And we've had really good feedback based on that show. And who knows? You never know. Might happen again. Justin did leave the door open there. So you never know. That might come about there, maybe on one of his next journeys or something along that lines. I can see here that I am experiencing some internet woes. So once again, bear with me tonight, please, people. That's all good. While we're talking about last week's show, just want to congratulate last week's swag giveaway winner. That was Kevin Ellis, a.k.a. Kevin with an A. You might have seen him in the introduction video there. Longtime channel supporter. Congratulations on winning a little bit of swag there, Kevin. Quick member shout out to all my channel members. Thank you very much. Without your support, this probably the show wouldn't happen. Anything that comes in through channel memberships, including a new channel member that I seen joined up tonight, Mike Huff. Thank you very much. That all helps going towards trying to improve the show. Believe it or not, it's going towards my internet as well, trying to get that all worked out. But I think my internet service provider is going to be getting a phone call from me, trying to get this all worked out, because things are getting a little crazy here, and I want to bring you all some really good content and obviously good picture quality. Also, I had a couple of people who have bought me a couple coffees or beers through the channel. Thank you very much. Once again, it goes towards helping to keep this show going monetarily. It's not going in my pocket. It's all coming right back to you guys in the in all the costs that go into producing this. Let's see here. Coming up on Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show in the next couple of weeks. Next week, we have another YouTube favorite of mine and of many others. We have Jason Irwin from the YouTube channel Tumble Home. He's got a new video out there. It's getting some really good views. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on the French River. It's been much anticipated. A lot of people have been barking up his tree wondering when he's actually going to be posting that video. Well, it is out. Go check it out. And next week we'll have Jason here on live to talk about that video and a little more. And it's always a good time when we have Jason on the show. Also, the week after that, for those of you that might be Adam Schultz fans, you know what? I know I am. Adam has just recently launched a new book, The Whisper on the Night Wind. Very good read. Very good read. If you haven't already got a copy, check it out. Or you know what? I'll get the link in the description so that you can actually just order a copy and get yourself familiar with that. But great story. Very good read. It's being very well received. A lot of people are really hyping it up, and for good reason. It's one heck of a good book. So yeah, it had me on the edge of my seat for many moments there. You can always keep up to date on the show here on our Facebook page or on our website, Facebook at Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show, or on my website at www.canoehoundadventures.com. I always have postings on there of what's going on with the show, and yeah, great way to keep caught up. this is something I've been struggling with here. I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be doing a little bit of a change to our weekly swag giveaway. Being the type of channel that I am, not a huge subscribership and stuff like that, and that the channel doesn't really generate a lot of revenue. And by doing swag giveaways on a weekly basis, I'm putting out a lot of money with shipping and swag and stuff of that sort. And I really do want to continue giving back to all the viewers. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be switching the weekly swag giveaway to a monthly swag giveaway. And you have the ability still to answer the swag giveaway question each week. And then at the end of the month, I'll be doing a draw. By doing this, I'll be able to have a bigger prize for the winner. Each week, it'll be able to build with different stuff based on the support I get from everybody else, whether it's a super chat, whether it's a channel membership, a buy me a coffee. All that stuff comes back to you in one way or another through the show. And it's something a way that I give back. And it's right now, a lot of it's coming out of my own pocket, and I can't continue to do that. So basically, we're going to switch over to the monthly format. It's going to allow me, like I say, to add different prizes. It could be a hat, it could be a coffee cup, it could be a T-shirt, all available on my my website. But you know what? That's something that we're just going to have to do. So by all means, each week, please do send in your answers for the swag giveaway. But let it be known that the prize will be drawn at the end of the month, but the winner will be getting a sweeter prize at the end of the month than what they might get regularly on a weekly basis. So let's keep all that going. You know what? By all means, any channel memberships, any super chats or buy me a coffees are greatly appreciated. And it's going to come back, man. It's going to end up coming back into the pot one way or another. And that's what we're going to be doing with that there. One or two more things here, and then we're on with tonight's guest. If you have any hot topics or guests you'd love to see on the show, by all means, please do drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. Let me know who you'd like to see. Let me know what you'd like to see. Right now, I'm looking at trying to bring a lot more European content. I've got the feelers out there to, a few of my favorite YouTubers over in the European continent, whether it's Germany, Switzerland, England. There's a lot of great bushcrafters and trekkers out there that I would like to have on the show. So if you have anybody out there that you'd like to see, please let me know. It makes it a lot easier when I could tell them, hey, these people want to see you, right? So it worked with some of our past guests here, including Les Stroud and Justin Barber and the Bairds, and the list goes on and on. So by all means, let me know what you want to see. And also, if you have any questions tonight for myself or my guest, please do put in the chat over there the word question before your question in capital letters so I can find it more easily. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, we'll get the questions up on screen if I can. If I don't get to them, you'll have an opportunity after 8 o'clock to join us right here on panel to ask a question yourself. Don't be shy. So many of you are shy. You have the questions over there, but you don't want to come on screen here to do it. Please do come on. It's easy, easy, easy. Anyways, without the blah, 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 as I always say, let's get on with tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is a wilderness guide, trapper, and writer in Northern Ontario. He recently completed a 30-day canoe trip from his cabin near Timmins to the town of Temagami, becoming the first person in history, or in recent history, to cross what's called the Little Hawks Heideland Portage. Please welcome to the live stream, Clint Zold. Clint, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good, man. I tell you, I kept tripping over my tongue there. I know
it's
status of this show and get you up here.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is I didn't when I set out to do this trip, the conception of it and it actually happening was about a week's time, and I found out the day before I left that whole thing about being first across, and I guess it's like 97 years or something like that. But it wasn't really even anything on my mind, but I thought I'd throw that in there for the intro.
Well, you know what? That's pretty awesome, because I've never heard of the Little Hawks Heideland Portage, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about it, because you know what, the areas that you canoed from Timmins, obviously, to Temagami, my favorite areas to paddle. I've done like, up in your area, say for instance, I've done the 3M or the 4M circle route. I've done the brain fart, old guy. On the other side of Gogama,
There's some good ones.
You might know.
There's that would have been like the grassy river.
Yeah, well, I've
correct?
done the grassy river. Yeah, I've done all the way up to Canoe Shed Lake. I've done like all that area between Timmins and Temagami are like my playground. I love that area for canoeing. So you're really fortunate to have that.
The whole Timmins area has been kind of new to me since I got the trap line. But for me, north of like Highway 560 there and Watershed and paddling all those and even fishing them with my family as a kid's kind of how I got started, and a little bit crazy.
Yeah, the Nebequasi, that's what I was thinking about, the Nebequasi. Are you familiar with that? The Nebequasi River?
No.
Okay, that's on the other side of Gogama kind of thing. Yeah, so.
Okay,
yeah. But no, great area up there. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously you've got a YouTube channel, but you haven't had much stuff on there of late because you've been a busy boy, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on in their lives, but I just the past couple of years I haven't really done a lot of stuff with my YouTube. A lot of that has to do with I didn't have a laptop for a while. But so sometimes you just want to be out there, and I love filming and I love bringing people along and doing all that. But it's a hell of a lot of work. It can be pretty invasive into the experience, which is you're always glad you did it after, because other people get to something out of it, but you also, like, when I can't be out on a trip and I can like watch some of my sounds funny watching your own videos, but it's it brings me back out there. So but I haven't been able to do that lately.
Things in life get in the way sometimes, right? They do. And for me, I'm kind of trying to transition more to the writing side of things, and give it a go anyhow. And so I'm trying to do that a bit more. I've got like a huge backlog of all these experiences I've had that I can that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my blog is, capture those in writing and get them out there, and and get back to the videos as well eventually. I miss doing it. So yeah, well, you know what, I sure do miss we were talking about that in the green room. I sure do miss watching those Clint Zold videos, whether it's your trap line stuff or the little trips that you take here and there. You get to it at your own time, so that'll be all good. So
geez, that's
how did you
you're really buttering me up here, Dennis.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, you know what? Everybody in the chat, you want to see some more Clint Zold videos? Put a 1 in the chat. Let's see what the people say.
It's a lot of pressure on a one-armed man right now.
There you go. Well, you know what? It's winter time. This is the recoup time, right?
Yeah, so, that's right.
Let's talk a little bit about this this trip that you just done from Timmins to Temagami. It was what, a 30-day trip?
Yeah, it was 30 days. It ended up being about 500 kilometers, basically like right on the button. It was like 498 or something like that, the route I took. 30 days to do that is like a lot of days, but I was kind of taking my time, and I had ran into a lot of difficulties out there. But yeah, it was the biggest challenge I've ever undertaken, I guess. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was, but it's an incredible experience. One of the most powerful experiences I've had in my life. Like huge highs, terrible lows also. Yeah, I just it kind of the whole idea for it. I was completely spontaneous, but I was coming off of a 3-month stint of I'm a tile installer by trade, as well as like I do some wilderness guiding now. But I was coming off a 3-month stint of working in Norfolk County in Southern Ontario, and just working like crazy. That's kind of been my life, has been chunks of time where I work really hard and save some money and then spend a bunch of time in the bush and then come out when I have to, kind of a thing. So I was coming off of that, and when you're working that hard, you're kind of, your mind's running a mile a minute, and transitioning to like just sitting under the trees and the peacefulness of it all is kind of hard sometimes, and vice versa going back. So I was kind of, I got back up north, threw myself into working on my woodshed and just getting my winter wood supply done. And then as that was coming to an end, I realized like I'm going to need something to occupy my time and like kind of come down off of this like working like 15, 18 hours a day thing. And it just occurred to me like, why don't I do a big canoe trip? Why don't I just get out there? And I didn't want to sit around in my cabin and kind of go stir crazy. So I got thinking about what I could do, and I was supposed to be guiding a bunch of canoe trips in the summer for Temagami Outfitting. I guided for them last year. They're the best. It was an incredible experience, but I wasn't really ready to just jump into more work. So I wanted to do something. So I decided I'd go on this canoe trip, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could leave my cabin and then paddle all the way to Temagami and then just start guiding canoe trips, working there. So I didn't even know if it was possible or anything. I got on the satellite, Google Earth, and started looking at waterways and things that are connected. And the challenge I kept coming across was crossing the height of land from where I was. But I remembered hearing something about this Little Hawks portage thing years ago, from a guy named Paul Bisson. And I remembered the name of it, and I knew it wasn't too far from me, but I didn't know if it was connected to the waterway. So I looked it up. I found some information online, and sure enough, it was like the ideal route. I could leave. The Little Hawk connects the Arctic watershed, which is like where my cabin is, with the Atlantic watershed, and it's a branch of the Montreal River. So it connects the Grassy River system with the West Montreal, and I realized like that it would work. I could actually do it. And so over the next few days, I printed out some really sketchy maps, and bought a bunch of instant mashed potatoes and flour and some trail mix, threw it in a barrel, and I was all set to go. Sharpened my axe up a little bit, and I decided to fire off to basically the Little Hawk portage. Some history on it. It was in use like ages. We don't really know how long people were using it for. It could be for thousands of years. It could have been just something developed for the fur trade. We don't know, but a guy in Timmins found this old map with this old route on it. It was a map from, I think it was like 1901 or something like that. And he showed it to this guy, Laurent Robichaud, who's the president of the Friends of the Grassy River. And this is this lost canoe route that connects the height of land, the Arctic and Atlantic watersheds. And Laurent got all excited about it and got his people together, spoke to the friends of Temagami. They were on board to connect from their end, and they went, and each group about almost 10 years ago went and they opened that trail back up from either end and kind of met in the middle. And so I reached out to Laurent to find out details about that part of the route, the Portage and everything. And we hit it off. He's a great guy. And that's when he told me I'd be the first guy going across it, and which was kind of sad. Like they opened it up like 10 years before, and like no one had got interested enough in doing it yet. It seems like there's a whole other topic, but
is there a particular reason why? Is it because the route is like, because it's an end-to-end route type of deal, or?
I mean, it could be that. I think a lot of what it comes down to, and I've heard Kevin Callan talk about this before, that the canoe trips people are doing these days are, and in my experience, like with guiding, people are taking like 5 days they have 5 days, basically a 5-day window to go do a canoe trip. So they want to do a little loop somewhere well-traveled, and they end up doing like the classic Diamond Obabica thing in Temagami or somewhere in Algonquin. And it seems like a lot of these other canoe routes that are incredible and just as beautiful as some of these places in the parks, they just go overlooked. So I'd like to see, hopefully, talking about the Little Hawk, and CTV's been talking about it. It creates some more interest in some of these crown land routes that are just as exciting and more remote sometimes than being in the parks as far as human traffic and things like that. But yeah, it was originally the Little Hawk's Portage was connecting the folks from like Matagami First Nation with Matachewan. And one of the other things I learned from Laurent, Friends of the Grassy River, was that it was about to, just before I was going through, they had decided that forestry was going to come in and basically wipe out the whole forest there. And he got obviously, like, he was really upset about that, and he went and spoke to Matagami First Nation about what the historic part of that route, and it's like it's their heritage, and they really got involved. And because of Laurent's efforts and the efforts of Matagami First Nation, they were able to have the Portage preserved. But right after I was to go through it, they were punching a road through. So the Portage was saved, but it was interesting. Like when I'd crossed this thing, and it beat the hell out of me. It was one of the worst beatings I took.
The Portage itself?
Yeah. It was 7 kilometers, and it's broken up by like a couple ponds, basically. But it was all grown in and below down, and I kept getting lost because there's not really a lot of trail. That's even in the last 10 years, it's just like disappeared. So I was getting lost and eaten by flies, and you got all your stuff on your back, and you're trying to stay on this route. So hunting blazes and things like that. But I got through it. It took me all day. But it's funny when you wrestle with something like that, when you struggle that intensely, and it's something like that that place takes a chunk out of you in sweat and tears and a lot of F-bombs.
None of us use that on a Portage. Come on.
Yeah.
It's all PG rated on Portage.
I'm always whistling. That's what I do.
So
what I was kind of getting at there is like I crossed this thing and it was absolute misery, right? But it's a kind of like there's like this bush crazy misery that it feels good at the same time. But when you struggle really intensely with something like that, you have like this connection with it. And so I have like this, I feel like this bond or connection with this like place. I renamed Little Hell for me.
Not the Little Hawks, it's the Little Hell.
Yeah. And I remember reaching Pigeon Lake, which is on the other side, and it was like the sun had set. There was barely any light, and I paddled out and I found an island to camp on, and I could hear the equipment, the logging equipment, and I took a rest day there. And the second night it was even closer, and it kind of cast a bit of a shadow over the trip and put some things into my mind that I wasn't thinking when I set out, because I just spontaneously jumped into this thing. So I didn't have a hell of a lot in my brain when I never really do, but when I jumped into this trip, and it became in the back of my mind everywhere I went from then on. I was thinking about the greater things that were going on, like they were losing a lot of this stuff, and like it was to some people, and it would just be like a bunch of trees, and it was pretty hellish for me. It was really sad hearing that equipment coming, knowing that it's never going to be the same again, and it hadn't been touched except by animals and the indigenous people and trappers and stuff, just little footpaths before. So yeah, that kind of, I don't want to say cast a shadow, but it made the trip, added a deeper layer to the trip for me, because then everywhere I went, I was kind of, you run into places on Crownland where industry's encroaching, and you wonder how much is necessary and what maybe we could do about it all. I don't know.
As long as we all crave wood products and paper and stuff like that, it's going to continue to happen, right? And it is unfortunate, that's for sure, especially in close proximity to areas that we as a relatively small group enjoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's hard, like being as you know, like part of this small community where it means so much, but you talk to some people that haven't experienced that, and it's like, oh, it's the big deal. It's just a few trees, and it's like, oh.
So
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So this Little Hells or Little Hawks Portage, you said it's about 7 kilometers. Where does it start and where does it end? Like sort of.
So it starts on a lake, right off of the Grassy, called Ferris Lake.
Okay.
And which is it's one of the most beautiful lakes I've ever seen. I really need to make a point of going back there. There's pictographs there, and it's beautiful. So it starts at Ferris Lake, and then it ends at Pigeon, or vice versa, depending what direction your travel is. But the interesting thing about the Little Hawk is that it's mostly flat, which is really strange, because you're expecting a height of land. Like I was thinking I'm going to be like climbing, and then
right,
that was kind of my thought, and it's actually mostly completely flat. And I asked Laurent about this afterwards, and it looks like there was a waterway there, like way back when I think it was Lake Ojibwe was like this huge lake that covered a lot of the Shield country.
Mm-hmm.
And as that receded, like that connection still had water in it at one time. And it was like a riverbed at one point. And so if it wasn't for all the blowdown and the missing blazes, then it wouldn't have been a little hell. It's actually be a pretty good trail. So hoping to get back there and help open it back up again for folks.
That's pretty amazing because, like I say, that area, I've paddled the Grassy River many times. Different areas of the Grassy, because the Grassy River is actually quite a long river and it snakes away.
Oh, and it changes personality so much throughout it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Like the areas that we did was over from like Sinclair Lake. That area went up to Canoe Shed Lake, all the way up there and back down to, gosh, this old brain of mine is starting to go faster. But yeah, that,
I mean, I forget stuff. I was just there.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. So let's go back to kind of the beginning of the trip. Now you started in from your cabin in the Timmins area, right?
Yeah. So my cabin's right on the Matagami River at a place called Canoehound Sea Lake,
right?
Just south of Timmins. So I'm like right on the banks there, and so to connect to the Grassy, I had to paddle north. Spent a day heading north, and I made it to the confluence where the Grassy flows into the Matagami, and then they head on up towards James Bay. Yeah, that's where I started from.
And then you started an upriver battle. You're
and
the water, pretty much.
Stupid me, like.
Well,
I just jumped.
I don't know if that part of the Grassy is it a very fast flow, because I know the portions of the Grassy that I paddled were pretty still waters, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was expecting.
Right. Oh, no.
I was totally ignorant, man. That was another thing I learned the day before I stepped into my canoe. The night before, like I literally talked to Lauren about the last minute details, went to sleep and got on my boat. I just filled a barrel of food and had a rough idea. But he said, "Oh, you're gonna have a hell of a time heading up the Grassy, like especially this year with it was like record low waters." And like the only place I'd really seen the Grassy up close, other than like by Peter Long Lake, which is like this huge lake, was crossing the Grassy, connecting to another part of my trap line, and it just looked like this placid water. And what I found was it's mostly like knee to hip deep, sometimes ankle deep, and just it's like a constant set of rapids from where it meets the Matagami all the way up to just about to High Falls. So I didn't even really paddle my canoe that whole second day. I just walked in the water and dragged it. I tried poling, which worked a little bit in some areas, but mostly I just had to wade and drag this thing, and my feet got so beat up from you're walking on all these like slippery river rocks, right? And it was it was tough. So I actually lost a lot of time. I thought I'd be way further in my trip planning, because I thought I just breezed through the Grassy, and it was really wrong.
Yeah. So did you obviously, you said you did it in about 30 days. Did you plan for a shorter period of time to actually this trip on?
I planned, I figured I could do the route that I had originally planned, which I changed twice on the fly. I had planned originally for 21 days from my cabin to Temagami I figured I could do it that fast, and then I allowed myself 30. But then a lot of things. So that the Grassy was the lower Grassy was the first challenge I had, and kind of the theme of this trip for me in a way was like, the hard part's over. And then it would get way harder. Which made it interesting.
Especially
I ended up using
solo, right?
Yeah, I was solo, and well, I mean solo, but I have my dog with me, so I never feel too alone. I pretty much talk to him all the time anyhow, so it feels like another person.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of on my own, but I left. I figured if I left 30 days, it'd be fine, and I ended up needing the full 30. I ended up running out of food and not being able to resupply in Matachewan or Goganda like I thought I would. They were both out of flour completely. I found out when I got there.
Is this because
you just
of
assume everybody's got flour? I think it was. It was really shocking. Like I figured, flour. Everybody's got flour.
Yeah.
I don't have to, and that's my canoe style. I guess I eat bannock all the time, bannock, and I try to eat fish. So that was I had to change my route up to try and get a hold of flour and like get over to this. It ended up being a good thing. I had to try and connect to another waterway. I had no idea if there was any portages at any time. I just kind of found the closest where these two river systems kind of snaked the closest to each other.
Yeah.
And figured, well, if there was portages, they're probably somewhere in there. And
they're likely to
it
be
would
at
let
the shortest
me
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it would let me jump into this other river system called Sydney Creek and get to my lodge that my grandfather used to own, and that I'd grown up going to, and I knew the owners, and I figured if I can get into Sydney Creek and work my way to Long Point Lake and get to Long Point Lodge, Gordon Liesel, they'll fill my flour sack, and so that was my first change to the route.
So at that point, were you following, what is that, the 522? Is it where from the watershed over to Elk Lake? What road is that?
Oh, that's
goes through Shining Tree and
that's right. Yeah, that's Highway 560. So
560, yes.
Once I crossed the Little Hawk and got into Pigeon Lake, that brings you right down. You go into Duncan, that brings you right down. Duncan actually touches Highway 560. And then from Duncan, I got into what I call I grew up calling the whole thing the Wapoose. It's another part of the West Montreal, and heading up north. So I went north, south, then north to Matachewan, and then back south. And then I had to jump over into Sydney Creek to get flour. And then my plan was to jump back onto my main route. And instead, I thought, well, what if I follow Sydney Creek out and go completely off my maps and then go to Elk Lake?
Yeah.
And then I can go up the Macobee, which it's my favorite river. And I hadn't been there since the forest fire went through. So I kind of thought I could go through there and see what kind of damage the forest fire did. So I was my own worst enemy in like making things hard for myself. But the route changes really added about another 100 kilometers. So that ate up a lot of extra days. And
so you followed the Montreal River from Matachewan down to Elk Lake and then passed down to the Macobee. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I followed the from Matachewan. There's like it's another branch of the Montreal. It comes out of smooth water and turns into Stumpy Lake, goes through Goganda. Mm-hmm. So I jumped off of that part of the Montreal that I was on and started heading upstream towards Goganda, the town of Goganda. And then when I was almost on Abishkon Lake, that's when I jumped over into Sydney Creek, which flows north back to what you're thinking, like the Montreal that kind of goes, connects with Matachewan.
Yeah.
And so I followed Sydney Creek out to the end, and then hoofed it down the highway for a few kilometers, and then jumped back into.
At that point you're paddling right along the highway down through.
So I jumped on 65 and thought I'd take a shortcut going down the highway, and like I didn't have any maps on this anymore. I was off my map, so I thought the Montreal River was a lot closer to Highway 65 than it was, because I remember seeing it from the highway at one time.
Yeah.
Way closer to Elk Lake, but I thought it was closer to Matachewan. It was like that. So at my shoulder, I couldn't paddle anymore because I injured myself early on, and I re-injured it several other times, and I got to a point I couldn't paddle the one day, and that kind of was why I decided to portage down the highway, then do this huge loop around, and ended up down 65, and I kept walking with my canoe on my back, and walking and keep looking, and I don't see the river.
Right.
So I keep going around more curves and bends, and just sweating, and it's getting dark, and there's rain coming, and I'm like, oh, what have I done to myself? I've done all the things you're not supposed to do.
How many people drove by you shaking their heads going,
I had a lot of looks and honks and stuff like that. So then eventually I was like, screw it. I mean, I use different words than that, but I knew if I just headed east off the highway, I'd hit the river eventually. So I just was like a plow, and I just went straight through the bush until I came to the river about 100 feet down an embankment. So I had to like slide all my things down, my pack and my canoe, and that's how I got back on the river. So,
wow, man. Where did you get your flour bag filled up? That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that was Long Point Lodge. I showed up. They asked me where my car was when I walked up.
Your car? It's back home.
yeah, and then they had I could tell they were wondering how brain dead I might be.
Oh man!
Because I had to tell them I canoed here from my trap line.
Wow. Like, well, hey, you know what? People did it before, right? Let's grab a couple of questions here from the chat there. Jeff wanted to know: was Nanook with you the whole trip?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was, and he had a lot of fun. Like he never had any hardships. He enjoys all of it. But yeah, he was. Nanook is a very special. I mean, everybody's dog's special to them, but I've been through a lot with that dog, and his life has been traveling by canoe or like snowshoe with me and pulling toboggans in the winter, and I can't imagine being in the bush without him. It's like we have this symbiotic kind of thing. He's really incredible to like. I need to like make a video of just him out on a trip. It's incredible to watch him because he's a Siberian Husky, and they were that breed was created by a group of people called the Chukchi in the Siberian forest of the taiga, so boreal forest. So I mean, this is his home basically, and when you see him in his environment, and that's what he's grown up doing, and he anticipates everything I'm doing. Like oftentimes I'll let him like all day. He'll just run the shorelines, cross lakes, swim behind me, catches rabbits, and he does a lot of things I wish he didn't do with porcupines, and that's some pretty rough encounters.
Is that considered hunting if your dog gets a rabbit for you?
I don't know. We're in some gray territory here. I mean, when you see what he does to them, you don't really want to. By the time I see the rabbit, you don't really want to have a piece of that.
No, okay.
But, he does. Actually, it's funny. I bring dog food with me, obviously, because I don't want to ever. Sometimes I'll go hungry, but I don't want to subject my dog to that. I feel like a real jerk, But as much as possible, I feed him fish. So like, actually, I took a pic. I'm gonna put it on Instagram, I think tomorrow. But I took a picture of our dinner the one day, and I have these 2 cook pots, and they're both full of just fish and fish livers and water, basically boiled. And that was my dinner. Like probably 3/4 of the time. Like the fishing was really good, but yeah, we my dog and I basically have the same diet when we're out there.
Hey.
So
yeah, them dogs will eat anything pretty much, right?
They will, and so will I. So
when they're yeah, so will you, right? But yeah, when you're hungry, you'll eat what you got.
That's right. It's just calories at some point, but
yeah. And your diet, like you're a trapper, so like obviously you're trapping, you're getting furs, and your catches. You're not wasting the meat. I've seen like I said, I've been watching a lot of your library again, just getting caught up for the show here and stuff, and watching Nanook getting all excited when you bring home a beaver. And he's like basically almost nipping at the tail of the beaver, and then you're eating the beaver meat and stuff like that. So nothing goes to waste, right?
No, never. And that's the other thing. Like, I mean, I don't want to. It's like you bring up Nanook, I could talk about him like for days, basically. But yeah, him and I both, like he feeds me sometimes, like oftentimes, and yeah, being on the trap line especially, we have this crazy bond and relationship where he sees and smells and hears things I don't. Sometimes I see things he doesn't, and at the end of the day, we both like get to feast on wild game. And yeah, I mean, like my last just recently, before I came down, I'm down south right now. He actually helped me catch a bear, which was a little scary.
Yeah.
But at one point, yeah, my dog was chasing this bear, and I was chasing my dog and trying to load a rifle, and it turned into a bear dinner at the end of the day, which was
no
good.
Kidding.
But, yeah, I've eaten some strange things out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into a little bit more of the trapping, because I'd like to learn a little bit more. Well, talk a bit more about the trapping part. A couple more questions here. Nate Muskoka is asking. This is from back a ways, but he's asking about GPS or all map and compass.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking to Dennis about this before the show. So, my trip, I got injured. Like, I'm still not able to really use my arm much at all since then. But I know it's a really polarizing topic, having like a GPS satellite like locator, things like that, and I've always gone without that, just to like, I guess it's a personal choice I've always made to like, I like the feeling of, for sure it's just dumb bravado on some part, I'm sure of that. Definitely learned a bit about that this time, but also like when I've been on my trips, especially like my solo trips, I like to feel like I'm all I've got. Basically, I want to have the same experience people used to have that was like just normal everyday life for them. Like even this trip I did, like it seems like a big thing. Like for me, it was a really big thing and a big challenge. But not that long ago, it was just normal life. People had their children and everything, and like all their belongings on a trip like this. And so I kind of always wanted to like just keep things simple and experience it that way, and know that there is no real safety net, I guess. Which
because you were mentioning
a lot of people get really mad when you talk about that, and I I've brought those things along, but on my solo trips, I never really have. I'm kind of paying the price for it right now, because if I had one with me, I don't know that I think I would have probably pressed the button because of the shape I was in. I was on an island on Macoby Lake, and I've never worried about getting like lost because I like live in the bush now, and like I've been lost and I don't worry about that side of things. But so the navigational side, that's why I wasn't really worried about that. But I ended up a point on my trip, my shoulder had been on and off, like really causing me some problems. And then I ended up on this island on Macoby Lake. And I woke up after, like, I almost didn't sleep at all the night before because of the pain. And when I woke up, I totally couldn't use my arm. I couldn't even undo my fly to piss. And things were looking really grim. I didn't know how I was going to get out of there. So I was going to have to like map and compass it and just try and walk out of the bush towards Elk Lake from Macoby, which would have been a pretty insane effort. I don't know.
Would have made the Little Hawk look.
Yeah, it would have been. It's a whole other thing, and wasn't looking good. But I ended up. I figured out a way to paddle with one arm and used my left arm for a couple of days and just paddled with one arm.
Wow.
And chicken winged the other one until I could kind of like gimp it along. And yeah, so that's I might bring a GPS thing next time.
Well, yeah, you know what? Sometimes an SOS beacon, one of those in reaches or a spot could come in handy, whether you use it or not, right? But just for those dire emergencies. But you know what? You say you like to travel like they did back in the day, and back in the day they didn't have that kind of help either, right? So
it was. I guess. Injury was bad luck, but I mean, back then too, if you got injured, it might be the end of things. So
yeah, right.
I got a little too close to that experiment. That I was so
how many days in were you when this happened?
The original injury started the third day. I woke up and had a lot of shoulder pain. So I had a funny fall the day before, and I think that played into it. And I didn't paddle the next couple of days. I rigged up a sail. I was at Peter Long Lake by then, and I was able to sail down from there to Sinclair, and then from around Sinclair right to like Ferris Lake. And my arm started coming back, but then I re-injured it through in some rapids, couple spills. Stuff that wouldn't hurt it if it wasn't already injured. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of culminated in this terrible dark night of the soul on Macoby. But I wouldn't change a thing about it. But
I'm surprised you just didn't harness the duck and have him.
I had some wild ideas go through my head about that. It's kind of like I don't know if people would remember Looney Tunes, but when you get looking at the Daffy Duck's looking at that little penguin guy or something like that, and he starts to turn into a cooked chicken. Like the nook was starting to look like an outboard for a little while.
Oh man!
But
so you actually paddled most of the trip in an injured state then, if it happened early on.
Yeah, and I think that's why my shoulder. I just didn't. Part of the reason I just was so reluctant to admit defeat, or it's silly to look at it that way, because that's not what it's about. But somehow I got it in my head that I had to do this, which
Well, you
don't know if
probably
it
thought
was
in a
true,
couple
but
days it'll get better. It'll feel better. In a couple days,
so it wasn't
right?
totally
Yeah.
but it did get really bad several times where I thought, I really need to I'm in Matachewan, maybe I should call it quits. Or then I was at the lodge and I don't know. And then Elk Lake, I had a chance, and I really thought about it. But the past 3 years, I've planned big trips, and they've been foiled by, just goofy circumstances. Obviously, like COVID changed a lot of things, and before that, and the year before COVID, the Nook got really sick, and I missed out on a big trip I had planned. And so I was feeling like I just wanted to do this so bad, and I didn't want to have another thing that I almost did. And that was really weighing on me, and how frustrated I'd be with myself. And and of course, I didn't know how bad it would get either. Like you said, I just thought, it'll come back. I've never had a serious injury in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no really grid for how bad that could get. So I thought I'd bounce back, because I always do. And I didn't. I'm still paying for it. I can't, that's why I'm down south right now. I can't haul water from the lake or really kind of do all the things I love to do right now. But
do you know what the injury is? Is it like a torn rotator cuff type of deal, or?
We ruled that out. I got some tests done, and that was my biggest fear. Ruled that out. It looked like just bursitis, basically. But it's been really stubborn. So it's still a bit of a guessing game. I'm looking at some other things, and if it doesn't improve, then I gotta kind of go to the next step.
Yeah, well, let's hope
surgery,
that doesn't come to that, right? No knife.
Yeah, I'm staying hopeful. Hopeful. So either way, I'll be back in the bush. So
cool. So further on now, moving on into the trip, we don't want to keep dwelling on your injury, right? Because I'm kind of squeamish when you're talking about it.
Yeah.
Pop a couple more questions. Somebody was asking, how much weight did you lose on this trip?
Oh man, I was. I've lost weight on some trips. I've spent a lot of time out, and I lose weight every time because you're working really hard. Especially it seems. I don't think back in the day people were traveling that fast or that focused on making miles or whatever, and as we are today a lot of times, and there's no way you can eat enough food. There's just no way when you're doing those things and trying to cover ground. So I don't know exactly. I didn't weigh myself, but I was about 180 pounds when I set out on the trip. And right now I'm at 169. But I was I had no fat, I had zero body fat. I looked like it looked like
there you go, ladies, he was ripped.
I was ripped and covered in filth and dirt. It was a wild but I kind of remember reading Frank Wolf talk about this, and I remember I was watching myself lose weight every day, and then I hit this point where I just stopped losing weight, but I was just skin and bones and muscles. And I felt great. Other than my shoulder, my energy levels were incredible, and it was amazing. But at some point you think you kind of reach your it's like your African bush hunter man weight, where you're just
right.
if you're living a really primal lifestyle, you just kind of be steady there, and it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling, and I packed it on really fast. I've lost some again since, but when I got to Temagami, until I could get a ride back to Timmins for my truck, I was eating huge stacks of pancakes 3 times a day and bacon and hot dogs and
No wonder you went to your
butter
so
and
quickly. Your pancake.
yeah.
That's funny.
So,
Wow. Yeah. Paul Hoy is asking. He's
hi,
you
Paul.
mentioned. Oh, you know Paul?
I haven't met Paul yet, but we've chatted on it. I feel like I know the guy on some level. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's saying you mentioned you're pursuing your writing. Do you write while you're on a canoe trip or trapping? What's the relationship between your love of writing and your love of the wilderness?
Yeah, that's
great question.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So my love for writing, I mean, it stemmed, like, I guess for anybody that I guess feels that, started with a love of reading. Got really into books when I was like in the 1st grade, I guess, so like pretty young. Just started devouring books, and I lived in a rural area and was always into I was outside all the time and doing what kids do, running around with knives and bows and arrows and things like that out there. And once I found that there was books about like guys like Jack London. He's probably the first author that I read that really like did something to me that I didn't understand. I'd read I was really into reading all these like stories, but then I remember reading The Call of the Wild for the first time, and I felt things I didn't. It's like I felt the connection that I feel like the stories about like the dog, right? Feeling this connection to the wilderness and the wild, and I kind of, I didn't realize it at the time, that it's actually about like all of us, like mankind's connection to the primal side of our being, or whatever you want to call it. And I started feeling that reading Jack London, and it really resonated with me. And then I moved on to I never really moved on, but I found Farley Mowat, got really into Farley, like his young adult fiction stuff at first. And then Gary Paulson with Hatchet, that whole series. When I read those books, it was like this explosion went on inside me. This love of literature started to really blossom, but also this dream of, I guess, living in the wilderness, or exploring that connection that I found was a common theme in all of these authors. And so reading is kind of what led me into my whole lifestyle now. And also like my love of writing. And now I'm kind of, I love the YouTube thing and telling stories, I guess, through film, and the camera's been my kind of tool for that. But what I've always wanted to do is write about my experiences, because I feel like, I remember Bill Mason talking about this in Water Walker, when he's talking about the difference between film and his painting. And he's like, you show it to people as it is, and they all go off to sleep, basically. But I'm butchering the quote here, but with a painting, you're capturing this whole deeper layer that you feel when you're out there. There's I think a lot of people, that's why we go out and why we do what we do and pursue these experiences. It's not just more pretty rocks and water and trees. There's there's something going on a deeper level. And I feel like it's really hard to show that with video and photographs and really, really great people that are really great at it can, I think, on a level.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I feel like I could do that better with the written word, and I want to be able to anyhow. I want to hone into that, and I'm trying to do justice to the places that and experiences that mean so much to me with my writing. So that's I hope that answers some of that question.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing that some of the books that you mentioned, some of those inspirational things that you mentioned, have affected so many and touched so many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe not to the point to live the same lifestyle that you live now. You know, living off grid in a trapper's cabin. You know, and doing the whole trap line thing. But you know what? It's inspired so many people to just have that thought and have that in their mind all the time. That, you know, the outdoors is what they want. You know, it's what they want in their lives on a regular basis, right? So
yeah. And I think once you experience, I think reading these books, I think probably for a lot of people, I'm definitely not unique in that. I think reading these books, it gives you a glimpse into what it's like to be out there and experience that, and it's probably inspired. Stuff like that, like art like that, has inspired people to go out and see that, wow, this is real. It's not just like what's hinted at in these stories and things is actually a real experience you can have. And man, if I can in anything that I create or put out, just inspire people to, like, or at least, like, maybe I seem crazy, but just trust it enough that, like, go see for yourself.
mm-hmm.
And you'll see, I think it's for everybody. I mean, I really think, like, being out there when you experience, like, you just got back from, what I understand, a canoe trip up in Temagami, right?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my big trip this year is up in the West Spanish Forest, and yeah, it was a piece of work. I had my own little hell. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But I guess that wasn't the best to make my point here. But I mean, like, there's for, like, that was hellish for you, but why do you keep going back and doing it? Like, there's a reason. You would put yourself through that.
I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's, and I think what we all experience, whether you're a hiker, canoeist, or none of those, you just go out and however you go out and experience the outdoors. What's drawing you out there is that sensation, that feeling of, I think you tap into something closer to what I think in our crazy world is like our natural human state that up until recently we lived a little closer to. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And you know what? On that note, Clint, I'm going to get into our swag giveaway
all right,
for tonight. And then to everybody in the chat, I just posted a link down there. You'll see if anybody would like to join us on panel, ask Clint a question or pass on a comment or anything like that, please do so. The only thing that I ask is that if you can please, when you join in on StreamYard, that you just turn off your YouTube volume so that we don't get that double feedback, which, like, blows us all up and gives us a big echo, right? So, but by all means, don't be shy, people. Come on up. I'm sure Clint would love to answer or meet maybe even Paul Hoy might pop up and say hi, right? So,
I'd love to see old Paul Hoy.
Yeah. So we're going to do the swag giveaway quickly. We'll get back into a little bit more about the trip, maybe hopefully get a bit of your trapping lifestyle and
yeah, sure,
talk a bit more about you as well. for tonight's swag giveaway, I mentioned earlier at the top of the show that I've changed the format a little bit, where I am going to be doing what's now called a monthly swag giveaway. However, you have the opportunity to enter on a weekly basis. Each week, we'll still have our swag giveaway question. All the answers that get answered, and I get the emails, they'll be drawn from at the end of the month, and the prize will be bigger. It's just a way for me to try and cut loose ends, because it's been getting a little expensive for me here, passing on prizes and stuff like that with mailing and all that. But anyways, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so what I need you to do is answer tonight's swag giveaway question, which was, don't put it in the chat, people. Please don't put it in the chat. You can actually send your answers to coasprize@gmail.com by Saturday at 11. And the question is, what was the name of the Portage Trail that Clint was the first person to do in nearly a century? We spoke a lot about it. If you missed it, go back probably to about the 20-minute mark, and you'll get that question. I will leave this on. And for tonight's swag giveaway, I got to make mention of this as well, that it's sponsored by our good friends over at Algonquin Outfitters, and I have a little video to play. And there we have it. So don't forget, everybody, Algonquin Outfitters has their 60th anniversary contest going on. You have to go to their website, check it out. The link is in the description below. Go check it out. They got some fantastic prizes, including, I think they have a guided trip, but I don't think you're the guy doing the guided trip, right? So
No.
I believe that's what they have something.
I got to give a shout out to Eric and Karen. I don't think they're watching this right now, but at Temagami Outfitting, they're if anybody in the chat here is planning on going to do a trip in Temagami and you need gear or lunch or beer or anything related to canoeing, they're an outfitter, Temagami Outfitting Co. And
you said that's Eric?
Two of the Eric and Karen, yeah. They're the best, two of the best people I've ever met. So they won't steer you wrong.
Yeah, you know what? On that note, this summer, early summer, I did do a trip up in Temagami. It's just a little 4-day trip up into Wasaksina, like a little loop up there.
Yeah,
and my buddy that I went with is one of the owners of Kid Products, and we stopped into Temagami Outfitters because it was like torrential downpour when we got there, which is it's the entire story of all my canoe trips this year. These torrential downpours. But yeah, we went in there. We talked to Eric and his whole crew in there, and sat with them for a couple hours and sipped on some coffee. And they are a good bunch of people, and they'll take good care of you once you're up there. Yeah. It's definitely worth just to stop in before you actually head down that Lake Temagami access road or something, right, to lunch. So. Once again, everybody, what was the name of the Portage Trail that Clint was the first person to do in nearly a century? Pulling that off the screen, and we will get back on with the show. I got nobody in the basement right now. So come on, people. Come on up and ask a question. Okay, so we haven't finished your trip yet, right? We haven't finished the trip. So now we're down about as far as the Makobi. What type of events happened there, and where did it take you to conclude your trip?
So I ended up, like I said, changing my route and working my way up the Makobi, which I hadn't seen in a few years, and it's my absolute favorite river. It's incredible, and I was really happy to see that most of it's completely intact, including what I think are the two best campsites on the whole river. And the Makobi is a river that doesn't see like any traffic ever. I don't know how many people do that every year, maybe like a handful. So I've never seen people there. Kind of the whole northwestern Temagami region really doesn't see any traffic, I find. I think it's the best part of Temagami. So I may have given that away now, but the fishing there,
planning their trips right now based on what you said.
Part of my route change too was the fishing. Macobee and Macobee Lake, Trethewey Lake, Banks Lake. Just it's all crazy fishing. You start with walleye, the lower Macobee, and then switch to brook trout, and then once you're into Banks Lake, and that's the Lady Evelyn Smoothwater Park. There's a cluster of lakes up there. It's all lake trout, and from there I ascended the Macobee and worked my way across to a lake called Trethewey, which is kind of where I started on this whole path. I spent almost 7 years ago, six and a half years. I spent a whole summer up there, and that's a whole other topic, I guess I can't really dive into, but I lived off the land on that lake for a while. So that was kind of my last stop down memory lane. And then I jumped onto the Lady Evelyn River, and I followed that all the way down, and I took the South Channel and worked my way down into Diamond, and I did the 2-miler into Diamond, and then Babaca, and then Lake Temagami and over. But on the way, I got to see, ended up running into Hap Wilson, and
Stuff like Cabot Falls. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I saw the canoes were out, so I figured he was there, and I went and said hi, and he knew exactly what I would want, and he sat me down with a hot coffee, a glass of ice water, and a huge jar of cookies. Yeah. So
thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, well, she wasn't there. The poor guys. I mean, I might get them in trouble with this, but they said they were on rations because they had guests coming, and Andrea wasn't there, so they were reduced to a diet of either catch fish or eat canned corned beef. So they were suffering out there without her around, it seemed. But yeah, it was nice to see him. And then Alex Matthias on Obabaca Lake. I met him guiding last year, and we become friends on like a level. Me being a trapper, and he grew up that way. By dog sled trapping, and like that's how they lived and survived. And so I got to stop by and visit him too, and he's like, "Where the hell are you coming from?" And I'm like, "Timmins."
Way up there.
And he saw I was pretty skinny, and my flour bag was like basically empty, so he topped me off there and gave me a big thing of frozen moose meat that
nice.
So from then on I was eating like I made my own shepherd's pie out of the moose meat, and for the next couple of days as I worked my way over to the outfitters. And,
did you run out of instant potatoes?
No, I still had those.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's good. So on the way through the Temagami region, there, you actually touched on a bunch of pretty cool points through there.
So we got any brave takers down in the...
No, you know what? I'm surprised we got a bunch of shy people. I'm going to post the link once again. If anybody wants to pop up on screen, ask a question of Clint or myself, or a comment or something, please do. Here's a Control V and an Enter. There we go, people. Yeah. So where did you finally conclude? Did you make your way all the way down to
this is
Outfitters?
Yeah, this was really cool. So it was like day 29, and I could have paddled in that night, but I was like, we'll make her a solid 30, and then I can come in the morning and have breakfast at the Outfitters. That'll be more fun.
Yeah.
So I spent my last night on the first campsite that I camped on, training to be as a wilderness guide for them. So I had some memories from last year there, and kind of got myself all, I guess, settled to exit the bush. It was a strange thing because when you set out to do a trip like that, I want to think it's probably like this for everybody that does longer trips and things. This is my first one like this, but at first it seems like you've got this insurmountable thing ahead of you, and then you're in it, and it doesn't feel like you kind of lose this sense of like how far you've come, and how far you go kind of becomes like meaningless, and you're just living this life and day in, day out, and you enter this like zone, I guess, and like the thought of leaving that it's kind of intimidating. I didn't really want it to stop, and like I was eating just like, well, other than that moose meat, like pretty crappy stuff, other than like when I could get fish, which was like a good portion of the time, eating really simple food. You're working hard and traveling each day, and there's not a lot of comforts, but after a point you don't really, in a way, miss those comforts. And so I it's kind of just like reflecting on that, analyzing that while I was on my last night out. And I got to Temagami, and Temagami is a wonderful town like to exit to like arrive at from a wilderness trip, because it's just such a wonderful community. And I paddled in and right to the outfitter's dock there, and got up, and Karen was just coming out to I think she was moving some chairs around or something like that, and she just looked up and saw me, and she like did a double take and was like, hi.
Right, yeah.
And
the
first, she knows, she really knows, because the first thing she did was like, let me get you beer.
Yeah.
Beer and food. She's like, she went inside and like got me all these meats and like pasta salad, and then they cracked me this. They've got their own beer they started brewing, which I didn't know about till I got there, and it was a wonderful way to end a trip that I wish didn't have to end, but it was awesome. They really made it special.
Cool. Got one question here. I'm going to pop up on screen, and then we do have a guest down in the basement that's going to pop up and have a little ad. Actually, we got two people that have popped into the basement. So
all right.
Let's see here. We got John from Lost Lakes asking if,
hi, John.
If a personal canoe trip is a 10, how would you rate guiding trips as a takeaway from your personal enjoyment? Great question, John.
That is a really this was something like that kind of held me back from getting into guiding, because I knew it would be a little different, and it's definitely different. I would say guiding trips is and I've had some challenging experiences out there, and like I don't have a ton of, I've got one season under my belt, but there's some wild stuff that happened. Stuff that wasn't that fun at the time, but I think they're a personal canoe trip. You're receiving something, and when you're a guide, it's like you're helping people to be in that place where they get to have that experience. So you're taking care of other people. So that's where it's a lot of work. So there's not like a lot of these serene, special moments. But then you have this whole other rewarding thing of like taking people out that maybe don't have a lot of experience. Maybe they've never done anything like that. And you watch them go through this whole transformation, and it's really challenging because they take stuff out of you sometimes, and they don't mean to. It's just like to be thrown into a wilderness environment straight from living in a city or something your whole life, or just never doing that. It's like, it's going to come out, like you're going to be under a lot of stress. So people, you see all different sides of people, but by the end of the trip, you watch at least for me, it's like I watch this thing that I really believe in, that I can't quite define, that I experience out there. I watch other people and get to facilitate other people having that experience, and then watch them actually like have a transformative experience. And I mean, there's two of my trips last year. I ended like, there was moments where I was, just kind of standing back and just watching everybody towards the end of the trip, and you can get kind of emotional because you watch this thing come full circle. Like it's incredible. I remember there was this one kid that I brought out last year. It was like this whole family, and they didn't all get along too well at all. And the son, he was 12, I think, and he had I think they said he had ADHD or something, and there were some struggles, and he had a hard time sitting still, and he couldn't really focus a whole lot, and that's how it started. And there's a lot of tension there because of some of that. And I started taking him in the evenings on the trip. Just him and I would like go off in the canoe, and I taught him what I knew about fishing. And I watched this kid who was like fighting with his parents and couldn't sit still in the boat, couldn't paddle more than 3 strokes at a time before you get bored. Like totally focus and totally calm down, and like actually be able to like relax. In something you can see, he was just relaxed, and you can tell he's never at rest. And I watched him. The last night I seen him, they flew out from Ranger Point, and that last day he got up like just as the sun was rising, and he's like, "Clint, do you think they'll be biting today? Do they think they'll be biting right now?" And I couldn't believe this kid didn't want, like, it was incredible. He took his rod, and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, go see." And he spent that whole day, other than when we went to the Spirit Rock and stuff like that with Alex, he spent that whole day focused fishing. Like the moment that really got to me, I remember coming back from what was I doing? I think I'd been cleaning some fish, and I was getting rid of some guts or something way down, and I was walking back, and the sun had set, and there's this crescent moon over Ranger Point, which I don't know if you've done Obabica or seen that, but it's this big sand spit, and there's this crescent moon, and there's all this like orange light reflecting off it, and there's this kid on the sand spit on Ranger Point casting, and like right into the night, and that to me, like, personal trips are like a 10 for sure on like a self, like not a selfish level, like it's a necessary thing, I think, but it's a 10, and guided trips are a 10 in a whole other way, because whatever the bullshit I went through on that trip, and like the hard stuff, I'll never forget that. And I feel like that kid's not going to forget it either, and that's what makes it special.
It's amazing when you could actually share an experience with somebody, and you could actually see it touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get exactly where you come from, man. That's awesome. That's a great, like, that's the best answer I've had. Awesome. That's great. No, that's cool. Yeah, for sure. You know what? We got 2 people in the basement here. I'm going to bring them both up.
All right, let's sit down to the crypt.
Yeah. Now let's just change this to this, and we're going to add Nate Muskoka, and we got Mr. Kevin Callan. How you doing there, fellas?
Kevin, Nate. Kevin actually, one of your books, Kevin, actually helped me on.
There we go. Thanks, Nate.
Sorry. I got to.
Hello.
Just my volume
it was
here.
Nate's fault. Nate, that was your fault, not mine. Oh, thank God.
There we go.
Are you all right, Nate?
Hello.
It was Nate's fault. Nate, that was your fault, not mine. Or Nate's
Okay, I'm gonna put you on mute for a minute there, Nate, till you iron this out. Okay.
Yeah, Kevin, your book. Which one was it? Geez, it's one of your older books where you go on a fishing trip with your dad in it, and you paddled to Montreal. That helped me immensely with. I had a copy of that in my cabin, and when I was trying to figure out where I might have likely campsites so I could plan my days, it came in super handy. So thank you.
It's funny you say that, Clint, because I was just last week rewriting some stuff from the past, and I found my old journals, and I found my journal about that trip, and that route is very historic. Not many people do it, right? So
yeah, that's what I found. Like once I got into like the Wapoose section, I guess you call it. I don't know what exactly lake that is where the dam is. And went up once I got past like Panassi and everything, and had to portage over that first set of rapids there was like, you can tell there's really hardly any traffic ever seems to go, and the fishing was pretty incredible. So it's I would love just to see people paddle those more. I mean,
I think back in the day it used to be, because I remember on that trip the first time I did it, first time I canoed it, because I actually used to work up there, but when I met a bunch of the firefighters in the cabin there, and they knew the area better than I, and they told me all about all the people that drowned and were buried there too.
Drowned at the
dam, yeah.
Okay.
2 instances. There's a bunch of graves, people dead down below there.
Oh gosh.
But I went further up too, and I don't think I ever wrote about it, but I went further up because a First Nation person told me about that route that went further north into James Bay, and yeah, it was incredible. But it's just, it was a route before that dam was built. It was a lot more historic. There's an old book. I bought it at the highway bookstore.
Let me get a pen here.
I gotta send. I'll let you know where that book is, because there's a book on the history of that entire area, and I bought it at the old highway bookstore. If someone here will know.
Is that the one by Cobalt or?
Yeah. Okay. And they published it. They don't exist anymore. But I had that book, and it's full of history on that. It's called The Great Northern Bend.
The Great Northern Bend.
I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'll find out for you, Clint.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you did a video on your favorite books at some point. This is probably years ago, that led me to find a copy of Magnetic North about David, which has become one of my favorites. David Halsey, man, fantastic.
The history of that book being produced took 10 years. Like, that's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's and I mean it's also, I mean, it's tragic too. You fall in love with this guy, and then to hear how it ended for him.
Yeah.
But like incredible, and I definitely could relate to his style of just kind of jumping into things and going for it, maybe not having all the gear or knowledge, and kind of learning on the way.
Yeah, but his buddies bailed on him, and what?
Yeah, like what jerks?
Yeah, like let's go.
You hear that so often,
and then they
right?
bailed on him. Yeah, and then the dog just wanders into camp. A dog wanders into camp, half coyote, whatever it was, and then travels across Canada with him. And the guy does this incredible journey. He writes this book, commits suicide, which I shouldn't tell the whole story, but
yeah, man, you're ruining it for me. I just wrote it down, Kevin.
Well, no, the incredible part of it, though, really is the editor, and this is a story that you really should go dwell into. Is that the editor that was working on it, when the publishing company bailed on the book because he's dead, she continued to write it, and took her 10 years to write it and put the book out. So he's the Moses that didn't see the promised land, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's
So who's the book by? Magnetic North by who?
Chris something.
Okay, that'll give me a good start. Somebody will probably put it in the chat.
You'll find it. David Halsey. It's from
sorry.
Yeah, but then I think a woman helped edit it together.
Yeah.
I forget her. And I want to say Susan, but that might just be a shot in the dark there.
Right.
But yeah.
That's an incredible read. Yeah, that's good. Your trip you did. I just have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
One is, what boat did you use for your trip?
Well, it's one I can see daylight through now. There was, so I don't know if you remember, they're defunct now. They were at Muskoka Paddle Shack years ago, making boats. Alchemist was the boat company.
Oh yeah.
So I ended up buying a Myth off of them. They made this boat called the Myth, and I had a fiberglass Myth, and that's what I've done everything with is in that boat. I mean, you get used to one, and you know its lines and how to maneuver it, and I love that thing. It's an ugly old piece of sin now, but it's got a lot of scratches and whatever. But it's seen a lot of action, and yeah, that's the boat.
That's cool. That's really cool. All right, and the other question is, 10 years from now, what do you see yourself doing?
Oh boy. Well, I guess what I hope to be doing is just more of the same. Plus, hopefully have some books on the shelves. Maybe that's what I'm hoping to write. Well, I've started writing about this trip, and because it kind of took me on a chronological journey through my own past with the area, especially like Long Point Lake and the Wapoose and all that stuff. So I'm trying to turn that into something readable. So yeah, I'd like to just keep canoeing and exploring and doing more winter stuff and guiding and writing and just diving deeper into it, I guess.
Basically doing what you love, right?
Clint, what do you see yourself not doing in 10 years?
Hopefully no longer having to do tile construction work if I can help it, though it has been good to me. I wouldn't mind. Also, I would like to stop being broke. That would be another goal. So hopefully I can accomplish that in 20 years.
Keep buying those lottery tickets.
That's right.
Just a little bit of if you want to be a Canadian writer about canoeing, good luck to you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I thought you were going to really put some wind in my sails here. But...
No, I will actually. You'll be the happiest person you'll be the happiest person in the world, but you better keep doing the tiles.
Yeah. No. I think I understand that part of it a little bit, but it's about the passion, and I got to before we move on to Nate's questions here, I got to nod to that beautiful shot of album of John Denver back there.
Oh yeah,
I love that man. Oh my goodness, he's the Eagle and the Hawk. Promise, Prayers and Promises.
Prayers and Promises, one of my favorite. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So,
Clint, are you giving away your age now?
I'm an old.
Dennis, John Denver is ageless.
I know.
That's right. He's timeless.
Yes. For the love of God.
Just for everybody in the chat there, we had a couple people. Sam Jackson put up there Magnetic North by Sarah Wheeler, and then
Sarah.
Derek put up here also the author is David Haley and the editor is Diana Landau. So there we go. If anybody else is looking for them books, there's a few clues.
Yeah.
Thanks for the input.
Good research.
Yeah.
It's an awesome
Nate, what's going on there, buddy?
Hey guys.
Howdy.
No echo.
No echo. No. Sorry, Kevin distracted me with his hat.
So,
it's a hot day today. Sorry.
Well, I was worried. Yeah, I was worried you were about to deliver my morning newspaper or something.
Read all about it.
Welcome to the party, Clint.
No, I am.
I don't know. I liked it better the other way, Kevin. Things aren't improving.
I'm butchering my first spoon carving attempt here.
Look at the thumb. You notice he held the thumb up in that picture too.
You're supposed to carve wood there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I only I'd watched the requisite amount of YouTube videos first, then maybe I would not have carved my thumb instead. But I think a lot of people assume you're supposed to start on the thumb. Yeah.
I've been there, done that, got the shirt. I stopped using my hook knife for that reason.
I've done it lots of times myself.
Anyways, I mean, your trip sounds absolutely phenomenal, and to do that all with map and compass and with your dog, it's pretty epic. I'm just wondering, because you're obviously a writer at heart, and yet you also do some visual recording as well. So what does your process of recording memory look like? Is it kind of like a daily journal? Is it all kind of, are you shooting iPhone photos? Are you making, verbal notes with a recorder or anything like that?
So yeah, that's a really good question. So my this is my first time like really setting out to kind of document it with the idea of writing about something later on. So what I ended up doing, I brought my DSLR along with me, and I got a lot of photos and moments that I thought would not ones that were just nice shots, but that I figured would trigger important memories and things I was thinking or feeling at the time. And then I had a journal. I stayed pretty disciplined to journal a couple times a day, and I got a good habit of that when I was guiding, keeping a logbook, and it's really rewarding keeping a journal. Even just I've got some older journals from other trips I've done, and it's a real treat when you've been cooped up for a while and you go back and you're there beside a fire on whatever lake, and you remember it all. And so I guess that was my method, a combination of like you're saying, like pictures and writing.
Was the journal thing kind of like I do this after dinner, or was it whenever something would strike you and you had to pull out your pocketbook and write it down?
It was a bit of both. There was a lot of times where wow.
Sorry, my mother is calling. I'll get back to you.
Every time
you're okay.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God.
Imagine you were one of Kevin's students and that happened.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. Oh, he's a great guy. Seems like it anyhow. Who knows behind closed doors?
Kevin's 100% okay in my book.
That's what I've heard. So yeah, the question. So I my discipline, I guess, was to write every morning after coffee, and then every night before bed. Which that was the tricky one, because I caught myself a lot of times really late at night before making camp, and soaking wet oftentimes, and really not feeling like I felt like I had nothing to even say, but I made myself do it, and I'm really glad I did. But then there was times like I caught the biggest walleye of my life on this trip, and I stopped everything and made lunch, and it was such an amazing moment and day that I thought, I'm going to stop. I'm going to make lunch, have coffee in Bannock, and I'm going to write about this and how this feels right now. so yeah, it was a combination. When something really hit me, I had to bring my journal out to make sure I got it down. And yeah, so
cool.
Not to get too detailed here, but as you know, for a long trip like that, just thinking logistically, everyone has their own methods. But are you kind of like a write in the rain notebook and a pencil kind of guy, or what do you use?
I had I went to the Dollarama in Timmins, and I got the cheapest journal I could get, and I had some old pencils from work lying around. So I brought pens. I like pens, fountain pens, but they run out. So I used the pen till it ran out, and then I switched over to. I think pencil is probably the best thing you could bring for that, because you can just make sure you bring enough of them, because you can just keep sharpening them. And yeah, pens don't work so good if things
make
get
good
wet.
kindling too, right?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if you're burning your pencils, you're in. Yeah. I don't want to imagine what kind of position you're in if you come to that. But
sometimes I wonder with the kind of drawing that Hap does. You know how people have this like camp cutlery fold out thing. If Hap has this like pencil giant fold out flapper thing with like all these perfectly sharpened different grades of pencil for his sketches.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to catch Hap in the wild from a distance.
You never know. He's like, he could be using like frog blood and muskrat whiskers or something.
It's hard. He's an elusive character. It's hard to say.
But next thing too, like you seem like you've got more of a traditional travel style sort of down pat. But is there any like kind of crazy techie lightweight stuff that you absolutely count on, or are you a bit more of like I'm gonna grab my frying pan from under the oven and and roll with it?
Well,
I was going to ask that question too. Hey, what is Clint Zold's backpack?
I have a heavy pack.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's economics, just being a poor man. But you know what, my one thing that I would never want to go without is my GSI Kettlist. That to me is if I could take one piece of cookware, it'd be that. I bring that, and then I've got a fry pan on like solo trips. I got a fry pan that it's heavy, but it's got a folding handle. When I'm with multiple people, I'll just bring like just a normal frying pan, like a big one, and throw it in my canoe pack, and bring like a big grate. I used to just only go on like not bring any kind of fire irons or anything, but I do bring a little grate if I can. Let's see, any I like having a headlamp for sure. That's good. Yeah. And then like modern canoe packs are unreal. Like I've got the one I always use, Eureka 115 liter, and I've abused the I don't know if you can say shit on here, but
yeah, no, you said it.
I've abused that out of it, and it's like it looks old, but it's structurally like brand new. That thing's got, I don't know, probably like 1,500 kilometers on it, at least. Maybe probably a lot more than that. But wow. Yeah, it's like, yeah. So those are my. I've got one of those Agua Canyon folding saws. I really like those. But other than that, like I'm I don't know. I bring a full axe and a little pocket knife and a fillet knife, and yeah, that's about it. One thing that I would say would be worth carrying that I wish that I had is one of those small chairs, a fold out chair,
handy.
The lightweight chairs, because oh man, that would have felt real good.
They are, they're definitely my kind of one luxury as well. And the Catalyst you're talking about, that's the stainless steel Catalyst, eh?
Yeah. Now I know my cousin's got a titanium kettle, just the one from Canadian Tire actually, and it's a great kettle, and it seems just as sturdy as the stainless steel, but weighs a lot less. So, but yeah, I sure like those things. I have like a real attachment. I'm not a sentimental guy, but my kettle, it's all black and crusty and full of soot, and I don't know, every time I look at it I smile.
It's broken in. It's broken in.
And if you smell it close enough, it kind of smells like
yeah. And
I bet you most people in here have a piece of equipment that is like that, something that's broken in, and it always seems to be a cookware piece, right? You know what I mean? Like the kettles or like the frying pan that's all warped or something, right? It's like broken in just the way you like it now.
Yeah. What about you guys? What's your? I'd be interested to know, because what's your? If you got one item that pertaining to the outdoors that, like, when you think about it, it like evokes all your fondest memories. Something you really rely on. Almost seems like another person. What's that piece of gear?
Yeah, for me, it usually, if I was to think about it seasonally, just because we're heading into winter here, but the one sort of constant is the thing that you would take with you, either it be on a day trip or a multi-day trip, to either boil water or something like that with. And like Dennis said, it's a piece of cookware, and mine is like this $20 world famous stainless steel cup thingy that I have to pick up very tenderly with my Leatherman pliers, or else it falls apart.
Yeah, you know the tricks to it.
Yeah, and it's it's all blackened up, but it's like one of those weird things where it's like always, whether it's just a day trip or whatever, it's like always one of those things where it doesn't weigh very much. And you might as well stuff it in your pack, because then you can always make some cedar tea or whatever, as long as you can make a fire wherever you go. So I guess that would be mine. And then usually like my knife is usually one of those things where you feel some comfort having it at your side for whatever you're up to, right?
Yes. Yeah. Until it bites you.
Yeah,
until it bites you. My thing that I've had for years and years and years, and it's actually, there's two things. One is this little plastic bowl dish that I've got, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's only good for being a bowl or a dish, but I've had that thing for years, and all my buddies get these, these ones that they collapse, or you get the ones like it's just a plate or whatever. This one here I've had because it holds liquids, and it holds, your steak dinner, or steak and potatoes, or whatever. And the other one is, and many of you might have seen them in a lot of my videos, is my coffee cup is an old vintage Tim Hortons plastic cup. They used to come with a little thing that you'd mount on your dash, and you'd slide the base of it in there so it wouldn't fall over.
Yeah.
And I still got the cap. It's still got Tim Hortons, and like it's 3D debossed, right? So it sticks out. And it's still got the red lettering on it. And
I was going to say that it's the red lettering. Yeah.
And you know what? That cup,
those.
I've tried. I bought one of these plastic kuksas that you see a lot of people using now, and I've tried a tin cup and a little thermal mug, or a little thermal like a Yeti style cup. And you know what? I just keep going back to my Tim Hortons cup. To me, when I'm at the camp, that there thing is just like, you got the little handle on it, and it's funny.
Well, Dennis, when you finally start growing a third ear, we will know why.
Yeah. Well, that thing. It was at the BMPs or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't get used that often. Only when I'm on trips.
I gotta tell you guys this. This is the drinkware. The old plastic drink things are making me think of this. So in the wintertime, I roasted my my Nalgene that I've had forever, and I needed a Nalgene, but before I went on the trips, you couldn't go on Canadian Tire or anything, and there's not many places to buy stuff in Timmins. So I was like, shit, I really like if I'd ordered this online like a week before, I could have got an Nalgene, but I didn't want to risk it. So I went to the convenience store and I got a liter of Pepsi, and that was I wrote Nalgene on the side. That was my Nalgene for 30 days. And I tell you that bottle by the end of it was like my Wilson, you know, it was,
you know, it's funny you say that, Clint. I was just watching the latest Jim Baird video, and he was showing that he's pouring his oil, and he says,
I
always
like
keep
his
it
style,
in a pop bottle. He says, you never see a plastic pop bottle break. Right?
I like Jim's style a lot.
Those guys are like a walking oil spill waiting to happen.
I know, right? Yeah. This Nalgene bottle that I've got right here, man, it's always with me, right?
Yeah, they're one bungle away from having an episode they can't air.
One bungle. I was gonna throw that word out today here in the show, but I thought they might have it copyrighted. Oh, look who's back in the basement here. Hey, Kevin, welcome back.
Speaking of Jim, I gotta say, my first summer when I went all crazy on Trethewey there and decided to like find a way to live in the bush and do all this stuff. I remember coming out of that trip and finding this guy, Jim Baird, and I reached out to him in a message and asked him, Jim, like, I love what you're doing, and it means a lot to me with your videos and stuff when I can't be out there, and I'm learning a lot from you. But like, if I wanted to pursue something like what advice would you have for me? And he took this really stuck with me about the guy, because he wrote like a whole page, like took so much time detailing how he got to where he's at, and just incredibly humble, and like gave me really practical advice, and he's just I haven't met him yet in person. I keep hoping to. I'm sure we're going to run into each other one of these days, chat back and forth here and there. But he's just a great dude, I think. So, anyways, I wanted to say that you brought him up. So, thanks, Jim.
He has a very big presence, that's for sure. And when we don't have a very large home, but when he sits down at the kitchen table, he pretty much fills the kitchen. So, both physically and with his stories. And always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, my first time meeting him was at the Winter Camping Symposium in Kitchener, and he was one of the presenters. And at the after party, I got to chat with him for a bit. And I'm like 6'1.5", and I was looking up to him. He's a big dude. He's a strapping young lad, right? Well,
I do that too, Dennis. That half thing.
Pardon?
I do that too. That half thing. I'm 6'1", and I say 1.5 too.
Yeah. Get that little extra, right? But you're only 169. I'm like 230. So
well, I'll get there.
Canoehound needs to go on a diet.
I had one more sort of question, just because that's a long trip, and you've got your dog with you, and it seems like over the last few episodes we've learned about sort of different styles of we'll call it wildlife encounter mitigation. So are you sort of in the how should I say this? Are you a bear spray guy? Are you a gun guy? Or you have the dog with you?
I used to carry either bear spray or a gun. Then I totally stopped carrying the gun because I've never had any problems ever. And I know you don't until you do, but I've dealt with bears and they've always been like really easy to intimidate or scare away, especially the areas that I usually am traveling, or like on my trap line. They've got a certain fear, I guess, of man. On this trip, I didn't have any bear spray at the time, and I really didn't want to be bringing the only gun I have is I got a 22 and I've got a 30-30, and I really didn't want to be carrying this huge chunk of steel around. So I just went without, and like I've got the dog, and I don't know. He'd let me know if there was anything close by, and I've never had a bear that I couldn't just like scare off. I just kind of.
I think I
sleep pretty easy with it. I know it's like a mental thing. I guess I'm a little more used to it now. Back in the day, I was like terrified sleeping out there. I'd do it anyhow, but I was scared.
Definitely. I more so meant like, does that sort of, thought about wildlife and food storage on a long trip like that, given that you're sort of dependent on, rough ingredients that you bring and then catching fish, is that ever a concern of yours where you might lose
that's my fear with on a trip like this. That was something I did that was on my mind, especially when I got further from, like, once I was down like up to Maccoby, especially to where I knew like there was like a significant distance before I'd make it to Temagami and whatever. That was my only anxiety, I'd say, with the bears, was that, like, not for personal safety. I don't really worry about that too much anymore, but yeah, like getting my grub supply stolen. So I know I kept my food close to me, which I mean, when I'm guiding and stuff, I or with friends and stuff, I keep it farther away. Kind of the way I do it is I've got my blue barrel, and I'll strap it around a tree with my pack, and I put all of my cookware and stuff on top of it, clean. And so it's kind of like an alarm for me. If like if a bear messes with it, it tips over.
Sorry, for a second there, I thought you said a baird.
A bear. You never know.
Also a possibility.
I really want to jump into this banter. I wish I feel more comfortable if I met shaking his hand first. But you never know when you might run into a hungry bear.
Don't worry, he's got broad shoulders. He's got a brother that bungles. So
have told me a story about the Baird brothers when he first met them. I'm sure you where there was a bear, and you heard them. He snuck up on them and tried to scare him into thinking he was a bear and all this stuff. But no, I said a hungry bear, yeah. So I basically had it like a few steps away from my tent, tied to a tree, and then I figured, if something does go down, I wasn't not in any way worried about that, but I was only taking my own life into my hands that way with like the risk. Like I said, guiding, I put things very far away from the folks and cross all the T's and dot the I's and all that. But yeah, it occurred to me at some point, if I lose this stuff, I'm pretty lean right now. This would really suck.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't happen. The only trouble I had were with moose and beavers, which is usually how it goes. I was lucky with no porcupines. My dog's been needled 3 times by them. His own fault. But yeah, I had one really interesting experience with a beaver that I deal a lot with beavers trapping, but I've never seen this before. I was there's you'd know this spot, Kevin, where you're south of Matachewan, you're coming up, you've like passed Rankin and all that, and you're heading up, and it's just you come to like this almost like gorge thing, and it's stunning, and then you're into this big lake, and there's boat traffic there, right?
Yeah.
It's the view there is, it's blown me away. It's probably my favorite picture of the trip is from there. But just before that, it's kind of windy and it's all grassy and swampy. And there's this bend in the river, and there's a beaver house on one side, and the sun's baking down, really hot day. And I'm coming along, and come around the bend, and there's this beaver house on this deep bend. There's a deep pool there, and on the opposite side from the beaver house, there's this big bloated brown thing on the bank, laying in the sun. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, it's a dead beaver. It looks like it's gonna explode. Like it's just been sitting in the sun, like all bloated and everything. So I paddle over to it. My dog's asleep in the bow, and I paddle over to it. I'm like, geez, that thing's like, that's ridiculous. That's huge. Like, and I'm waiting to smell the stench, of this thing, because it's so big. I've never seen anything like a beaver that big. I figured it had to be just swollen from being dead. And I got my bow is just about to touch the shore, and I see the thing's chest rising and falling. And it's such a big old nasty beaver that he's like the king of the land out there, and so he's not afraid of anything. So he's just out having a snooze on his back on this bank in the sunlight. Yeah, I never have seen that. They're usually so like timid, and it's like morning and late at night they come out. This thing was broad daylight sunning itself, just having a nap. And then I had this oh shit moment, and then my bow hit. My dog lifts his nose up and smells something, and then the beaver opens its eyes. My dog jumps up, and then in goes the beaver. The dog jumps and kicks the gunnels, and like the canoe's doing one of these, and the dog's in the water. Yeah, that
was funny. I was just tripping with my buddy Andy a couple of days ago. We're talking about stories around the fire, and it reminds me of and so I'm a writer, so I exaggerate some stories, but there's ones that you can't exaggerate. It just happened. And the one story was Andy and I were in Quetico. We're coming around the point on Quetico Lake, but by the native paintings there. And it was early morning. We were paddling around the corner, and there was a beaver asleep on a rock. It was asleep. And we woke it up, and it panicked and leaped into the water, but actually leaped into the canoe on the packs.
Oh, God.
We were in a panic, and it hissed at us, like hiss, hiss, hiss.
Yeah,
and then
you don't
jumped
want to
into
fight a
the
beaver.
lake, and we both looked at each other, and he goes, "Nobody will believe that story, Kevin."
I believe it.
You're full of it, Kevin. I don't believe you.
Yeah, nobody ever believed that just happened.
Show me the scars.
Oh my God! And also, Clint, where you saw that beaver by Matachewan years ago in the early '90s, talking about Hap Wilson, and Hap knows the story really well. He loves the story. I was paddling the one route to write about, and I came upon some poachers. They're actually doing gallbladder from bears in the spring, and I was portaging around them, and they knew that I saw what was going on, but like of course I said, look the other way, and they looked at me and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I went, "Working on a guidebook on canoeing," and the guy goes, "You're not a Hap, are you? Are you a Hap?"
Are you a Hap?
And first, I was like, "No, who Hap? Who's Hap? I don't know." Yeah, because that was funny.
He's a bit of an infamous figure.
Yeah, he was not liked in that area for various reasons during the environmental conservation things. I got a last question for you.
Okay.
Sorry, and my mom phoned. She does this all the time, Dennis. and I go, "Mom, I'm on a podcast with famous Dennis Canoehound Adventures." Like, and she goes, "I don't really care, dear."
Oh, she didn't say hi to me?
She doesn't know. No, she's Scottish and has this attitude like, "Look, I'm talking to you now, and no, I gotta go. Anyway, sorry. So,
okay.
If you had to ramble off, your really quickly too, ramble off in your head, your top priorities for wilderness conservation, three of them, top three of what you would want to do in the next few years. 1, 2, 3, go.
Wilderness conservation. Okay. I would like to, there needs to be a real buffer around these lakes. That's one thing I noticed on this trip was, and on my trout line especially, forestry companies aren't even abiding by the current rules about buffers around these lakes, and I can't imagine what that must do to the water with the quality of it with mercury and things like that. I don't know. I'd just like to see. Geez, how do you answer that question real quick? I don't know.
And not only one, but three. He wants three.
Three. I'd like to see the spraying stop. I'd like to see the return to maybe more selective cutting, because people don't realize. I didn't realize the full extent until becoming a trapper and seeing, especially around Timmins, is insane. There's no bush. You look at the satellite image, and there's nothing. There's these little strips, and being a trapper, I've seen what it does to the wildlife. Like, they just disappear. Some are still there. Some come back right away and do really well, but then others, I don't know when I'll see martin or a lot of fisher again, or and even the bear and stuff like that. Like, there's just it's a snowball effect. I think I'd just like to see the forestry be more selective, but I know it's based on a demand. One thing I'd like to touch on, you bring that up. I know I'm not answering this fast, Kevin, and I'm sorry. But this is something I did want to talk about, and that I've noticed. I've been seeing billboards up now on the highways advocating forestry as though it's like a solution. Forestry is a solution to global warming, climate change. And there's all these billboards up now. It takes a forest, and it's trying. It's basically, to me, it seems like propaganda, trying to. And I'm not against. I use wood products, but the way they're doing is just, it's like, right, and then trying to make it into something it's not. Like, you're going to cut these forests down and you're going to reduce CO2 levels somehow. Okay, why is everyone else in the world saying the opposite about how that works? And then I noticed something like the Little Hawks Portage. This is really disappointing to me. I found out CTV was covering this story on the Little Hawks with Friends of the Grassy River, Matagami First Nation, and they wanted to talk about the Portage, which I personally know the president of Friends of Grassy River had to fight tooth and nail to have any kind of recognition on this. And like reaching out to Matagami First Nation, like bring them into it, because it's their heritage. If they hadn't got involved, it would just, right now, it would be a clear cut there. Yeah. Now the headline. So I'm waiting for this news story to come out. The headline is Friends of Grassy River, Matagami First Nation, and ACOM help restore lost portage. I'm like, ACOM restored their plan was to completely decimate this untouched forest there. It's never been cut. They've been fighting to ignore basically everything Laurent was trying to show them historically about its significance. They went back on the promises they made or tried to. Luckily, he kept things documented and emailed, things like that. But it's like, but then CTV gives them credit as though, they were part of this, and then they're kind of trying to destroy it. So, or not kind of, they were just trying to capitalize on the forest there. They didn't restore anything. And like, I saw it, like they didn't do anything except punch a road across it. And,
and can you tell people about that outdoor educational program at the First Nations Reserve, the outdoor educator that takes kids out on the Nabaquazi? Nabaquazi is the route you're talking about, Dennis. You love, right?
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
I had a brain fart.
Yeah, Ian. I'll butcher his last name. I want to say Vathillingham or something like that. Ian. I haven't met him. I've chatted with him back and forth, and we were supposed to meet a few times, but with different COVID things and stuff like that, it didn't quite work out, and I've had my own stuff. But
he does some good work out there. He really does.
Yeah, he seems like a really passionate guy, and what he's doing with the youth there, I think, is incredible. And you don't really see that, at least the area of Ontario that I'm familiar with. You don't really see stuff like that going on, and I think that's the best thing you could possibly be a part of or do. So yeah, props to him, and yeah, I look forward to meeting him, and I'd like to get. Oh, there he is in the comments thing. Hi, Ian. I'd really like to. He's saying they're still fighting to the forest company to preserve the site. They're still fighting that battle. So it's like, geez, it's crazy that we can't like get this portage it's historical. It's a height of land portage. There's only so many of those, and you have to fight that hard to just like leave that alone. Like, go cut somewhere else. Like, come on.
Something's
find
on
another
there.
location at least, right?
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
It doesn't really matter to them. I think
it's an historic portage.
Anyways, we won't get into the politics. Won't get into the politics too
okay.
much.
All right.
And, well, not on the live stream, but we will be in the green room.
Okay, sure.
Well, Dennis, though, but nothing's going to be done if you don't.
Well, you know what? That's a whole new show we got to put together.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I would about the program though with the kids and Ian. I'd really I hope someday, like I've been through the Little Hawk and stuff like that, and I know I'm not, I don't know physically where I'm going to be at in the future, but I hope to still be able to do this stuff, and hopefully I would like to get involved with that and help with that program.
Yeah,
someday. I think it would be a dream.
I had full plans to go up there and do the Nabaquazi with my buddy Andy, because that was one of the first trips we did, and then do more promo on that route, because it is a canoe route. It should not be a lost route. But,
it's a beautiful route. I've seen the decimation up there myself there 2 years ago.
Yeah. Things got odd the summer with he had to cancel trips a lot, so I never got up there. But I do know that at least media did get some attention to it. So
yeah,
some attention is better than none. So yeah. But yeah, don't be quiet. Clint Dennis said not to be political.
No. You know what? Actually, we're 20 minutes past.
Don't bust
the end
his balls. Too bad.
So I'm gonna close up the show for tonight, and then we will continue ourselves here in the green room, and then man, we'll. That's a battle we'll fight another day.
Oh my God, Nate didn't shut up, eh? He didn't shut up the entire time.
He's whittling.
I'm stitching my other thumb to get back together right now. Yeah.
Well, and also Nate, my mother never really did call. That was just a scam to get me off the line.
Oh, jeez.
I know you've used that one multiple times.
Poor mom.
Enough for me to recognize when I see it.
There we go. Thanks, Marty. Thanks for saying it.
Like how he highlights it. Way to go, Dennis.
All righty. Kevin, Nate, I'm going to drop you guys into the basement. We'll see you in the green room.
Bye.
Okay. Hey, Clint, thanks very much for spending your Tuesday evening with us, man. This is great hearing the story about your trip, getting to know a little bit more about yourself. It's been a real pleasure having you on. Thanks for reaching out to me, because I know I reached out to you before you did the trip. And
yeah, I've wanted to do this. Also been a little intimidated. I've never done this before, and yeah, I'm glad it finally worked. I had a blast talking with you guys, and yeah, it was a real pleasure. So thank you.
You're certainly back. Welcome back anytime. Don't be a stranger, and tell everybody how easy it actually is. It's pretty simple.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, because I like getting people on here to ask questions and stuff like that. But there's a lot of shy people in the chat, I think. So
yeah.
Alrighty, man. I got to close up this show. Stick around in the green room, and we'll finish up with maybe a cold one in there.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Clint. Appreciate it, buddy.
Right.
Have a good one.
See ya.
All right, everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. Clint, real stand-up guy. Yeah, man, there's a lot more things that I wouldn't have minded talking about. But that just gives us an excuse to have Clint back on the show again in the future. Just in closing, I just want to say, as a reminder, next week, I see he just popped into the chat here a little while ago. We have Jason Irwin from Tumble Home is going to be on the show next week. I'm sure we'll be talking about his most recent video upload about the French River and his passion for the French River. Looking forward to that one there. It's always a good time when we have Jason on. Have your beers ready, because we all get feeling really good by the end of the shows when Jason's on. So thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. I've already got some beers chilling down there. Hopefully they'll last the week so we can pop them out on Tuesday. The week after that, don't forget, we have Adam Schultz is going to be on the show. We'll be talking about his newest book, The Whisper on the Wind Night. Great read. If you haven't already picked one up, please do pick one up. It's well worth the read. It'll really keep you mesmerized for sure. Anybody that I see, we have brought on a new channel member tonight, and we've had a couple of super chats. Thank you very much. The support's going to go a long way. I will be adding a couple of things to the swag giveaway next week, which I'll mention. And don't forget, our swag giveaway is now a monthly thing, but you please enter every week. Send us the answers into the swag giveaway, and you'll be eligible to win the month-end prize. If you enjoyed this show, please do hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, if you see the value in the show and you enjoy this type of content, please hit the subscribe button. You know what? We're on every week, 7 p.m., and it's always a good night, fun night like this here. And we always have some really cool things brewing for future weeks. So by all means, hit the subscribe button and follow us on Facebook at Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show, and you'll know exactly what's coming up with upcoming episodes. In the meantime, everybody, have yourselves a great week, and remember, please do keep the adventures alive. Until next time, ciao.